here. So hello everyone, welcome. My name is Jade Weatherington, and this is about homeschooling while running a business, but specifically about using what you're already doing, which is homeschooling your children and turning that into a business. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So first, just to give you some background about myself, I have been teaching online for 10 years. It started off by, well, I don't want to say it was an accident. I started teaching online when I was pregnant. I was working for Minneapolis Public Schools, and I was about to make my exit so I could be a stay-at-home mom. And like 2 months into being a stay-at-home mom, I was like, I miss the outside. I'm tired of being in the house talking to this baby all day long, and I didn't really like the moms that I was around. So I started teaching online because I thought that was going to be my transition, and then I kind of kept it on the side as a side hustle. And then it went from me developing my own courses, and those kind of took off, and it turned into my business once I decided to homeschool my daughter. So she did attend school for preschool, and she went to kindergarten. And I always like to say that she had amazing kindergarten teachers. Like, they were amazing. Then she got to first grade, and I had this conversation with her teacher, like, well, she's advanced. And also, as an educator, I know that we hear parents tell us that their children are advanced all the time. Their children are not advanced. So I think that's how the teacher looked at me, like, oh yeah, I hear you, but she wasn't hearing me. And so she didn't really work on challenging my daughter, even though I supplied her with materials to help out in the classroom. And halfway through first grade, they accelerated her to second grade. She had such an awful experience that year that she came home and asked me if she could be homeschooled. And I remember thinking, like, how can I homeschool you? I work at this school. You go to this school. I'm always trying to rush through traffic to figure this thing out. And then she looked at me and she's like, you already teach online. So when I say I give a lot of credit to my child, it's a lot of credit to her. Let me go ahead and turn this off, y'all, because it's gonna keep on beeping. So I give her a lot of credit for that. But that is the reason why I was able to stop thinking about teaching online and tutoring online as a side hustle and start thinking about it as a business. And once I started crafting this as my business, the courses that I was creating were the same classes that she was taking with me. So nearly every class that I made during the time period when I first started was writing classes. So they're all writing classes. They're all for middle schoolers. And then it just started to expand from there. So we are now 8 years into homeschooling. And if you're here for the vision board, y'all did hear me say I'm tired of it. I am. I'm kind of over it. And it's just because there's a lot of work. Homeschooling, running a business, all those things. It is a lot of work. So before we get started, over in the chat box, I would just want you to type in, what is your hobby, your passion? Like, what is the thing that you absolutely love? I just got writing and reading, crafting, with all the exclamation points. So I know you love it. Birth doula, life coaching, cooking, travel, reading, quiet time, and music with the exclamation point. All right. So all of these things that you love can essentially become a course, whether it's online or whether it's in person. I'm going to be discussing how you can do it online because that is my area of expertise. But you can also take these and create live courses. And this could be independently in your home, at community centers, at libraries, anywhere where people are at is where you can offer a course. And if you think about what you're teaching your child, the same way you develop a course for just your child, or a class for your child, or a learning experience for them, can be extended to other families. So we got gardening, piano, cooking, reading, and writing. Now, here's the other thing I want to mention. Once I started taking like the side hustle seriously and turning it into a business, I learned a lot more than what I thought I was going to, because I was just doing the work. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm going to share something a little personal with y'all. When I realized that I was doing business wrong was when I had to do my taxes. So that was a big old learning experience. That was a big learning curve for me. because I always thought about teaching online and tutoring online as a side hustle, just extra income. And then when I started thinking about it as a business, that's when I had to change some of my processes and how I develop courses and how I taught them. But that's a whole different thing. But one of the things I heard a lot during my years and still years of joining business cohorts and going to networking events, people will always ask, okay, what are you passionate about? What are your hobbies? Turn that into a business. And then there's the opposite side of that. If you absolutely love what you do, you may not want to turn it into a business. You might find yourself despising that activity or that hobby because you love it so much and you do it because you want to. But once you turn it into your business, you're doing it because you have to, because now it's making sure that you're financially secure. So keep that in mind. It could be, I love this so much, I want to turn it into a business, or it could be, I love this so much, I don't want to turn this into a business. So how can you turn that passion into a business? Or maybe it's just something that you're really good at. So this next question, before I actually get into these points, let me go back so y'all can't read ahead. If you had to give a TED Talk for an hour, what could you talk about nonstop, no interruptions? And it might be the same as your passion, it might be the same as your hobby, or it might just be something that you are extremely skilled in. All right, so see, some of them are matching and some are a little bit different. So crafting, writing and publishing, parenting, especially in the special needs area, and scriptures, and leadership. So I just want you to kind of hold these things close to you. Think about this as I'm going through this presentation, because you have the potential of turning either your hobby or your skill set or something that you have really great expertise in into an online course. And I already know some of y'all's names and faces. So I'll ask also, how many of you currently teach online? Or maybe you've tried it out and you're like, all right, I want to do this, but I'm still figuring it out. All right, awesome. All right, so now we'll proceed. So thinking about that thing, how can you turn that into a business? So you want to consider some of these points. You are already teaching your child. As a homeschooling parent, you are already doing this. So oftentimes I hear people say, well, I don't know what to teach. I don't know how to teach. And I'm like, you're a homeschooler. You're already teaching. This is already something that you're doing. So you already have the skill set to develop a business if you are developing lesson plans and a curriculum. If you create a remote position, you'll be able to homeschool and work around your schedule. So there are some benefits to it. So when I first started teaching online and like making it my full-time job, I mean, I just didn't have any other jobs that I was working. I had nothing else except for my dependency on the courses that I created. I created classes when I wanted to teach. So I don't like getting up early. I didn't have any classes that started before noon. And even though I would get up at 10, that time between 10 and 12-ish, that's the time that I'd be focused on getting my daughter prepared for whatever she had to complete for the day. And I will say this, I don't want to say it's easier now because she's older, so she can do a lot more independent work. But when she was younger, we would sit down and we would do stuff together. And then I would log in from one device and she would log in from another device, and she would be in my class just like anybody else who signed up for the class. And then I would have like a late evening class because I wanted to grab people that were in different time zones. So you're able to create the schedule that you want to offer. And if you are offering in-person classes, it's the same thing. If you're working with primarily homeschool families, which was my target audience was homeschooling families, then you can set it up whenever you want to. Those times, because of flexibility in homeschooling, you get to decide. Now, If you decide that you do want to teach online, and it might just be one particular thing, so I teach middle school writing classes. That is my area of expertise. I can go into high school, area of expertise, great at that. I'm not a big fan of elementary age. It's I don't have the skill set to manage, to handle, to deal with their emotions. So I don't prefer it, but I'm able and capable of doing it. But there are some things that you consider, like, do you want to teach classes that fit your child's age range? Because maybe you're better with high schoolers, but your child is in elementary school and they can't attend your classes. So those are things you can consider. But if you decide that you want to teach online, I always say research the different online platforms. So outside of developing your own website, there are other places where you can offer your courses. It's kind of like a marketplace. So OutSchool was one of the first places. Well, it was actually the first online platform where I offered my classes. Prior to that, I was teaching classes off my own website and I was using Skype. So it was all through email communications. The parents would email me, I would send them to my website, they would sign up for the class, and then we would join Skype. And that's how I started my first online classes. I'm not tech savvy at all. I am better with technology now because I am a YouTube scholar. Everything I need to know about developing my website, I learned it on YouTube. But if you're not ready to venture out into creating your own website and doing all of the work, the marketing, the course development, all of those things that you need to develop a course in a business, there are platforms where you can offer your classes. So OutSchool was one of the very first places that I offered my online classes. How many of you have heard of OutSchool? Yeah, so as I mentioned, it is a marketplace. Anybody can create courses. And so I also get that a lot. People say, well, is it oversaturated? I think it's oversaturated. Everything can be oversaturated. You have to find something that's unique to you. And you also have to do a lot of the work yourself. So one of the things I see with people who come to the platforms is the expectation that they can just list the class and forget it. You still have to put forth a lot of effort to tell people about your business. So I'm gonna ask y'all all this question. We're gonna focus on food because one of my favorite subjects. What is your favorite food and what is the brand? All right. So if you don't have a specific brand, do you have like a favorite restaurant where you like to get your seafood from? All right. So burritos from your local Mexican restaurant. So think about that one particular food. Let's say you have people coming into town. Are you going to take them to that spot? Or do you take them to your favorite spot to get your favorite food? And even further, do you have a favorite clothing line? Do you have a favorite author? Like, think about all these things that are your favorite. When you have something that you really enjoy and that you really like, you tell everyone about it. Anybody that will listen, you're going to talk about it. I have, well, I had a favorite restaurant here in Atlanta pre-COVID. After post-COVID, the food got a little shaky. But anybody who came to Atlanta to visit me, that was where we were going to go. So you have to think about that. It's your business. You have to hype it up. You have to talk about your business wherever you can, whenever you can, because no one's going to know about it unless you tell them. So even on these platforms like OutSchool, where they take 30% for marketing, it's 30%, but they have 10,000 teachers. So if I teach a writing course, I am not the only writing teacher on OutSchool. Now, when they first started, they had less than 100 teachers, less than 100 active teachers, and I was one of 10 teachers that was offering writing classes. So it was very easy for me then because there weren't a lot of us. But as more writing teachers started to come in, I had to distinguish myself from them. And the thing that I always focused on was being a homeschool parent. I'm a homeschool parent. So all the homeschool families that were coming in were still like, okay, you get what we're trying to do. We're homeschoolers. We don't want that traditional classroom writing aspect. So that's what I was able to give to them. So you find the thing that's going to make you stick out, and you keep on telling people about your business, and you build those relationships with those families. Even today, I'm sending out over 1,000 emails to all of my past families because, like, hey, y'all, sign up for classes. I'm constantly telling people about classes. And our school is for youth, so youth ages 3 to 18. And then there's other sites like Udemy, and that is open. Any type of class you want to teach, you can offer. So if you don't want to teach children, you can teach adults. And these types of courses can be set up where you offer them pre-recorded. So they're set up, and again, they're not sit it and forget it, but you post them in their self-paced so that people can go through and learn at their own pace. But you can also offer live classes. You can do coaching sessions where it's the same group of people, and every time they come in, you're focusing on one specific task that they need to work on and that they need to complete. Yeah, that the marketing, I treat, so this is the thing I found out that helps me. I am not that great about marketing my business. I had to learn how to be great at marketing my business. And so I think about my business as being my best friend's business. Because if my best friend's doing something, I will not stop talking about it. If my daughter does something that I think is excellent, I keep on talking about it. But when it's time to talk about myself, because it's my business, it was hard. So I was like, I'm just going to act like it's not mine. I'm hyping my best friend up every time I talk about my business. So sometimes you just have to change the mindset. And when I started doing that, I was like, oh, I'll post about this all day, every day. Because we get stuck in that thing like, oh, I got to put myself out there. I have to tell people what I'm doing. Nope, I'm acting like it's my best friend's thing. So that marketing component is huge. So the difference between OutSchool and Udemy, OutSchool takes a percentage. Udemy is a pay per class. They may have changed their scale. The last time I was on Udemy was 2021. And that's when you could list the class for $9.99. And no matter how many people took that course, all you had to pay was $9.99. So I think they still have the same system where you pay to list the class, but I may not be correct. That's why I say research those online platforms. And then there's course platforms like Kajabi. So course content platforms where you're basically buying that website, the domain, and you have the option of actually buying the domain name. So it won't say like teacherjade.kajabi.com. It would just be Teacher Jade, but you build out your content and it kind of does like the step-by-step. So it shows you where to put your videos, where to put your worksheets. And there's even like forums that you can have. The only downside to that is it's costly. So using a course content website, and Kajabi is not the only one, there's a lot of them out there. You have to pay to place your content. And then you still have to make sure that people are coming to those classes so that you make your money back. So when I did my own website, it worked a lot better for me because I'm like, the maintenance on my website is less than $100 a year. So do that research, decide where you want to offer your courses. Again, if you decide to offer classes online, a few months after the pandemic started cooling down, I knew people were tired of being virtual. So I started offering my courses at the library, live courses. I'm like, I'll go to the library and I'll offer these classes. And now I'm back to virtual. It's kind of in between. So whatever I do online, I can do it in person. Now, as far as turning a lesson plan into a virtual class, how many of you have experience creating lesson plans? Or maybe you like to use outlines. And if you don't, if you didn't attend the Chat GPT course, watch that recording because you can definitely use Chat GPT to create a lesson plan for you. All right, so going on over the very basics. When you're developing a lesson plan for a class, and again, it's not just a virtual class, it could be the stuff that you're creating for your child. You want to think about the objective, like what will they learn? And I'm using my class as an example. So my writing class, And I'm actually going to show y'all one of my courses is the hamburger paragraph class. I did not come up with the hamburger paragraph method, but I use it. So the objective in that class is that learners will learn how to write an introduction, a body paragraph, and a conclusion. Those are the three main objectives for the class. The material, will they need anything? And then the activity, so your mode of instruction. When I teach classes, I'm lectured. I do a lot of lecturing, but I also like to pause to ask questions. And then I always review the content to make sure everyone understands it. And then I do an activity. So it's lecture, question, review, and right back to the lecture. Provide assignments as needed. One thing I will tell you all that I wish I would have done differently when I first started was hire someone to do the feedback for me, because I was teaching classes and I was also my own TA. If I could teach a class now, I mean, I still could, but what I have right now works, so I'm not changing anything. I wouldn't have any outside work. So for those, like when I see like crafting, you could teach a craft class, and when the class is done, that's it. That is all. You're like, okay, bye. But I teach writing classes, so they write the essay, they turn it in, I have to read it and give them feedback. Once my class is over, I am still working, but I put that into my pricing. So if I teach a class that is 40 minutes long and I know I'm going to spend another hour doing feedback, I'm going to make sure I price my class so I get paid for an hour and 40 minutes worth of work. And then the last thing is the assessment. So how do you plan on assessing the work? For my writing classes, they get a rubric and I give them feedback on the rubric. I give them feedback on their written work just to make sure that whatever the objective was, it was actually met. And these lessons, I will make these available. Y'all don't have to use my lesson plan. It's just the lesson plan that I like to use. But I use a very basic lesson plan. For shorter classes, I don't always need a lesson plan. So I have one class called Lunchtime in Literature, where all we do is talk about the book that we read, and we bring our lunch. So we're sitting on Zoom with our food and the book, and each week it's a different theme. So one week we might focus on books about friendship, and then everyone has to bring a book that they're either reading or that they have read or that they want to read that's focused on friendship. And then everyone gets a turn to go around and share and talk about the book. And like if they want to hold up their plate of food, they can. So easiest class ever. I didn't have to create a lesson plan for that. It's just, hey, what theme do y'all want to do next week? And now it's completely student-led. They tell me what they want to talk about, and I let them know that is what we're going to do. But the course that I'm about to take y'all through right now is that hamburger paragraph class. And just so y'all can see the basic structure here, I'm just going to pull up my highlighter. It's for 9 to 11-year-olds, so about 3rd, 5th grade. I do have the exact same course for older students, because oftentimes I have parents who they don't even know the basics. And it's the same class. I just changed my tone. I don't talk to them all excited. I just changed my tone. They're a little bit older. The questions are slightly different, but it's the exact same content. This class used to be 30 minutes. It is now 25 minutes. The thing that I've noticed now, again, post-COVID, is nobody wants to be on screen for too long, especially for families that are having their children taking classes online back to back to back. So now it's 25 minutes. They get in, they get the information, and then they get to get out the objectives. And I like to write down my time frame so I know exactly what I need to say and when I need to say it. So the reason why I was able to cut 5 minutes out of this class, I no longer do this extended practice. So I had an extension activity that I no longer do. And then the assessment, I read their work, I provide feedback, and then the self-reflection. This is something for you. So as the person who's teaching a course online, when the class is recorded, watch it. After you teach your class, send feedback surveys to the families. Ask the students that were in the class what they liked or what they would change. I always tell people I never ask anybody what they didn't like. I do not care what you didn't like. My ego's too fragile to take it. So I say, what would you change? And I get better feedback from them telling me what they think I should change versus them telling me what they don't like. And they word it differently too. So get that feedback and then make adjustments as needed. Now, before I kind of walk y'all through the class, I'm going to do it quickly. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, cool. So I will say this the class that y'all about to see is a class that I made on PowerPoint. Like this was pre-Canva. And when Canva first came out, well, let me ask, because I know we all use Canva today, but how many of y'all regularly use Canva? Okay. Yes. So y'all, when Canva came out, I'm sure Canva was out way before I knew about it. But when I started using Canva, everyone's like, "Yeah, try Canva, try Canva." I'm like, "Ooh, I did not like it." I use Canva every single day. I love Canva. I use it to create my classes. I use it for my social media content. I love Canva. So what y'all gonna see is a course that I created way back in my PowerPoint days. I don't think I've touched PowerPoint in years. But what I do like about Canva, I should say, is that you can upload your files. So I uploaded all my old PowerPoints, and now they're in Canva, and I was able to adjust them and make them prettier than what they were. So again, I want you to think about the thing that you said you're passionate about, the thing that you said you could teach, or the thing that you could talk about for an hour nonstop. That is something that you can take a lesson plan with, turn it into a class, and then teach it to other people's children online or face to face. So the very simple class, it's the hamburger paragraph, learn how to write a paragraph. I always start the courses by asking what everyone's name is, and then I make sure I'm saying names correctly. I show them how to use the tools and functions. I don't care how many classes they've taken with me or how many classes they've taken online. There's someone in that class who doesn't know how to use the tools and functions. I keep it really simple: mute, unmute in the chat box. Those are the only two functions they need to use. And then midway through the class, they use the annotate function. So the other thing about teaching online, you have to make sure that you are familiar with all of the tools and functions. Every time Zoom does an update, I go and watch the new tutorial because I'm like, well, what are y'all changing now? Being able to manage these tools and functions also helps you with the classroom management. So if you have someone who's putting things that are inappropriate in the chat box, you need to know how to disable the chat box. If you have someone who's unmuting and doing or saying things that are inappropriate, you need to know how to disable that function. In the virtual space, you have a lot more control over the class than you do in a physical space, because if a child's acting out, the most you can do is tell them to go stand outside the door, maybe. Just depends on where you're working. So you make sure you know all those tools and functions too. So I go over all those with my learners to start with. And then, like I said, this class is really basic. I read a paragraph to them. I tell them a little funny joke about how much I love food. They laugh, class proceeds. And then I just break down each part of the body paragraph. So I'm not going to actually teach y'all the class, but go over the topic sentence, supporting details, the final supporting evidence, and the closing sentence. But on every single one of these slides, I'm asking them a question. So it's not just me talking at them for 25 minutes. So the topic sentence is: my favorite food of all time is lasagna. My question to them is, what's my main idea for this paragraph? If they say lasagna, they got it right. If they don't, then I have to re-explain it to make sure they understood what the main idea is and what the topic sentence is. And so I know the timing for this. I know about 12 minutes into class, I need to be on this slide. If I'm not on this slide, I either need to go faster, or if we're here at 10 after, I need to extend because I know exactly what time my class needs to end. And then on this page, we just do a quick practice. So this is where they now get to actually do something a little interactive. And then we have one more practice, and then they get their prompt, and I tell them when their assignments due. So this is I think it's 7 slides. It's 7 slides, and that is it. Well, this 8th one, which was the extended practice, that I no longer do. So it's really easy to take an idea and then translate it into a visual. And so I'm going to go back to my lesson plan. So for each one of these points that I have, it's a slide. And that's how I create my visuals. So when I create a course on Canva, I always start with like a blank template. And then on each page, I'll write some like introduction, introduce concepts. And then I go back in and I add the visuals and I add any text that's needed. It takes me anywhere from 30 minutes to like an hour to make one class. And this one here is 30 minutes. So it doesn't take me that long. And then to create worksheets and handouts, I just reuse the same stuff over and over again. So it's like once you make it, you don't have to keep on doing the same work. So I'm gonna pause right there and ask if there are any questions about that information. And I should also mention, this is something, if you don't enjoy making the content, this is also something that, or I should say, if you enjoy making content, but you don't like teaching, that's another option, because there are some people who only create content. So for some of the first classes I offered, like this hamburger paragraph class, this is I think this is just the image from, I can't remember, it was so long ago, but all of my current classes, I have my daughter make my pictures. She makes my animations because that's what she's into. I was like, oh, I need you to draw this picture. I need you to do this for me. So then I don't have to worry about using something that I'm not supposed to use. So that is another option. If you like creating the content, you can just create content and then you can sell that. You can find teachers that are offering classes online and then provide them with your services. You're like, hey, I'm really good at creating the content. I can give you this in exchange, for however much you're going to charge. So just a quick breakdown, going back to money, talking about dollars, how much should you charge? I always tell people, charge what you're worth. A lot of people come in and they're like, well, I'm going to offer these really low introductory prices, and you're undercutting yourself, because once you raise those prices, those families that could afford you, they're not returning because they came to take your classes because of that price. Maybe not, that might not be the only reason, but if your price point is extremely low, that is what they were looking for. They were looking for a low cost class. So right now, my highest price live class is $96. It meets for 4 weeks and it's 40 minutes, both on my website and where it's posted on OutSchool. And so my earnings for my course, and again, this is over 4 weeks, is around $1,400. Now, on a platform like OutSchool that takes 30%, I make $1,000. But these are for my live classes. You can also offer pre-recorded classes. So the same classes that I teach live, I also offer them pre-recorded. And I also have longer courses. So this is my highest price live class, because I have semester-long classes. And the semester-long classes aren't live because they're 12 weeks, and I don't want to make the commitment to teach for 12 weeks. So those classes are all pre-recorded, and the same way I just kind of walked y'all through that class, that's what I do when I record the class. And I also record my classes in Canva, save the file, upload it to YouTube, save it as unlisted. And so only the people who have the link have access to the class. And I get questioned a lot about that because I'm not saving. I have over 100 pre-recorded classes, so I'm not going to save them all on my device. I'm just too much space. And the concern people have is like, well, what if someone takes your content? It's happened before. I don't care. That's just me. And that's because I know no one's going to teach my class the same way I teach it. And if someone only has access to the video, they don't have access to the feedback. So for my pre-recorded classes, I still provide feedback on their work. So they still submit their work to me and they still get feedback. But I also have classes. So this same 4-week class is pre-recorded. They still submit their work, they get feedback. But I also have a discounted course. It is the exact same class, it's pre-recorded, but I do not give them feedback. However, I send them to ChatGPT and they have these prompts. And I'm like, well, use these prompts to get feedback for your paper. So they just copy and paste the prompt that I give them. They put in ChatGPT and they also put their essay in there. And it's just asking for content. Not content. It's asking for feedback about the content, the grammar, punctuation, and the development of the essay. So they still are able to get feedback, but it's not for me. And then they also get to take the class for half the price. So yeah, the thing that's really great about pre-recorded classes, I have taken months off at a time. So December. Yeah, just this past December, I did nothing. I said I'm not working. I'm only offering my pre-recorded classes. I just needed a break. I need to take a break from life. So I only offered pre-recorded classes. Now, once you have done this, if you feel like you're confident enough, you're like, okay, I'm making enough money doing this, then you can start scaling your business. So other ways that you can use your skill set of taking what you're already doing, because you're already teaching your children if you're homeschooling. So you can take that and scale your business by creating digital products. Every single worksheet that I've created for my classes, I also have sold them individually. So if someone doesn't want to take the class, you can get these worksheets. Here you go. I sell those. But I also make a lot of them free. So here's just one thing I'll say. It's kind of, everyone doesn't know this, but y'all are going to know this. Every single worksheet that I have created for my classes is free. It's in my Parent Academy on my personal website, but it's also available for purchase. So I have them on websites where people can buy them. But if they just follow the link and go to my website, they'll see the exact same content as far as the worksheets are free. You can create subscription boxes. Those take a lot of work and a lot of effort. So that's why I said once you're ready to scale, if that's a route that you want to take. Another thing that you can do for marketing is reach out to the people who have subscription boxes and ask them how much they would charge for you to put a flyer in their subscription box. So if there was like a subscription box that was all about writing and I really enjoyed what they put in there, I would reach out to the person who found it and was like, hey, would you be interested in me putting this little flyer in here, or this worksheet, this QR code, and how much would you charge me to put this in there? Or you can think about how you can partner with that person, and it's kind of I do something for you, you do something for me, and that is another way that you can market your business. Remember, it's your best friend. You have to tell everyone about it. Yes, I create the worksheets on Canva. I sure do. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but I used to make them on Word, and it would take so much time to create a worksheet on Word, but I do it on Canva now. So I'm on Canva all day, every day. You can also sell lesson plans. There are many, many people who cannot create a lesson plan, or they do not like creating lesson plans. So if you think about the homeschooling families that you know, there is a parent out there struggling right now to figure out how they're going to create the lesson plans or the unit studies or even the curriculum for their child. They're going online, they're trying to purchase a whole curriculum, but then they still have to lay it out and map it out and teach it to their child. So if you're one of those people that's really great at organization, that is also something that you can sell. That is a service that you can sell to people. So this is one of the things I just pulled up. So I don't know why it says development creating. That should all be together, development creating content. So you can also create content. So if you're like an expert on Canva, go on there and make some classes. I had one person take one of my courses and make it interactive, because like I like creating the class, but all the extra steps where you can make it interactive. So if they click on something, it takes them to another thing. That is not my skill set. I don't like doing it. It's tedious. I don't want to do it. So I found someone who could do it for me. So that is something that could be outsourced if that is also your skill set. Coaching and consulting. As a homeschooler, you have some knowledge that another parent probably would like to have, or even like a mentorship. And yes, you can put a price tag on it. It is your time. You should be paid for your time. And then the next step, if you're ready to step it up, developing an organization. So 2 years ago, that's when I decided to transition from just being a solo online teacher to having teachers that teach for me. So instead of it just being Teacher Jade, it's now Teacher Jade's Writing Academy. And I have teachers who teach the classes that I've created. So the same classes I've been teaching for the last 7 years, they are now teaching those classes. So those are ways that you can scale your business once you're ready. And then a lot of people feel like, ooh, once I do that, I get to sit back. No, you're going to work more. You're going to work a lot more. You're going to be in charge of scheduling, payroll, and you have to keep on marketing those classes, because now it's not just you who depends on that income. You have people who are also depending on that income. And as far as the business aspects of it, here are some of the free business development sources, development resources that I have used. The Urban League. If you go on the Urban League, I get at least 10 emails from them a day. Don't want them, but I'm not going to unsubscribe because sometimes they're useful. But they have free online workshops and also like marketing, digital products, all those things, all things business related. They have free online classes, they're live. They pre-record the workshop. They don't pre-record, they record the workshops, and then you can have access to watching them. NASDAQ, same thing. They have a whole lot of free information on how to develop a business. And then Verizon Business Solutions, it is online. And when you sign up through their business solutions, you can take classes, and they're all modules. So it's nothing that you have to do live, but it's self-paced. So you can go in there and take those different courses. They give you access to the recordings. They give you access to worksheets. And it's all been very beneficial and helpful for me, turning this side hustle into the business of taking what I was teaching my daughter and then teaching it to other people's children. And then some other things that you want to keep in mind that I don't touch on during the presentation: the technology, what type of technology you're going to use. Classroom management, like I said, it's really about just learning how to use the tools in the technology that you're using. And then copywriting your content. Like I said, people have taken my content. I care, but I don't care. But it's costly. So the one thing I always tell people is to put a watermark on your work. If that is all you can do, put a watermark, get a logo, something, put it on everything. And so if someone decides to take your stuff and they're trying to crop it out, if it's right smack in the middle, they can't. If they want to go the extra step to then recreate everything that you already created by removing your watermark, that is on them. But the process of actually copywriting your content just is costly. And when you're starting a business, you typically don't have all the funds. So we're gonna go hop on to the Q&A. Any questions? So I do. I have a business Canva account. I have the education account, and then I just have the free version account. And that's because when I first started using Canva, I had the free account. And then I transitioned to the education account. And this was back when it was pretty much the same as the business account. It was free. And I just still use it because I have my college email. So because I still use my college email, I still get the same business the education account without having to pay for it. And the business account, I have that account because I do use the business features, and for me, it's worthwhile. I make it back. So that payment for the business account makes sense to me. And then I just keep the education account just because what if I can't pay for my business one? So I have all three of them. So the specific plugins for creating courses on my website, I use, so my domain is through GoDaddy. It's through GoDaddy. But my website's hosted on WordPress. So WordPress has a learning management system. So that's the LMS where you can house your courses, called WP Courseware. It's really easy to use. I don't love it. It's not the best, but it's free and it does what I need it to do. So what I would say, if you are using Canva to make the worksheets, I'm gonna look on my computer right quick here, see if they still have this. But in Canva, they have tutorials, and I don't know if they still have this set up. So I'm looking real quick. They used to have a resource page for Canva. They probably still do have it. But if you go to the resource page, it has the tutorial and the videos to show you how to make the worksheets. And on my website, I also have like a 2-minute video that shows how to make a worksheet. So it's kind of like once you do it, it becomes easy. You're like, okay, I got it. I've got the hang of this. So like a math worksheet, you just 3 + 4, and then you put some images in there to help them with the visualization of what they're adding. So I would say check Canva and then check the resource, and I'll see if I can find it. But it used to be right under the settings tab where you could click on that and watch their tutorials. Yeah, I would say go straight to Canva as the resource for the tutorials. Of course, there are a lot of people on there who also, like people who just do YouTube videos, are like, oh, this is how you can use Canva. But I would say when I watch the tutorials from Canva, I learned some stuff on there that I didn't even know exists. Like there's so much on Canva that I still don't know. Same like with Chat GPT. I use it for really basic things. And when I just attended the session, I'm like, you can do what with that? Okay. So I'm just adding all these tricks to it. The goal is for me is to get everything automated. Like I would love to just have everything automated where I don't have to do anything. It just somebody clicks a button and all the stuff happens for them. All right. Yes, of course. So this is my contact information. Everything I do is on teacherjade.com. So it's half and half. One half of teacherjade.com is where I help people learn how to teach online. And then the other half is my academy where I actually have my online courses, those free worksheets. The Parent Academy is all things writing. So that's also on teacherjade.com. And like I said, I took the whole month of December off. So I just got back on my website. I'm still making some updates on there, but that's where I can be found in all the stuff. Yes, you're welcome. All right, I'm proud of me. I stayed within my time frame. I did it. So yeah, if there are any other questions, feel free to pop them in now, or you can reach out to me on social media platforms. It's Jade Weatherington everywhere. Teacher Jade. No, on the internet, it's Teacher Jade. So it's Teacher Jade everywhere on the internet, including Pinterest.